Hello from Sao Paulo, Brazil. In between clients right now, and I got another message, and it's something that has become fairly routine, unfortunately. I wish it wasn't. And it was about someone, a guy. Most of the people who talk to me about this are men, and the end of his relationship. His relationship didn't end because of the stereotypical reasons. There was no gambling, sex with the babysitter, wife beating, none of that, none of that. And it was someone who could directly attribute the demise of his relationship to advice that he wanted from me, that he took, put into effect, and actually clearly doesn't regret, even though it cost him. Hello, Sophia. Hello, Howard. Hope you two are having a great day wherever you are. Sophia, I don't know if I've seen you in the chat before. I apologize. I'm starting to get more and more people through. Let me know in the comments how you heard about my channel. And please be sure to subscribe and share this somewhere. The problem is, and I actually took notes on this because this was a serious issue, and I really wanted to get my thoughts together on something that I think is a little too important for me to just do the free-balling adventure conversation that I normally have, because this is something that I want feedback on, something that I hope I'm not alone in. But as I rapidly approach maturity and more often I'm being called upon, hired, contracted by men to help them figure some things out in their life. And I'm not a professional counselor or trainer. I just give people the old-fashioned curmudgeonly advice that helped me to become the man that I am, that got me the things that I wanted in life. And I'm proud of that. The problem is nothing is free. And I say that all the time. When I say nothing is free, I mean nothing is free. What are the books that we always talk about on this channel? 48 Laws of Power, when they say despise the free lunch. Well, nothing is free, meaning not even freedom. I have seen relationships implode and a lot of men get left over things that I've told them. We all want to self-improve, especially men. You know, we have these ginormous egos that we pretend that we don't, but we really have these huge egos. And I talk about the pillars of manhood, getting the physical parts set up, going to the gym. I don't care if it's boxing, jujitsu, yoga, Pilates, any of that. If you exercise 4 or 5 times a week, you're in the top 15, 20% of men anywhere in the world easily. Top 5% if you're in America, because Americans are generally lazy. We generally don't exercise. If you do something with your hands, it might be, for me, it's blacksmithing and writing. For another guy, it might be poetry. For another man, it might be carving figures out of wood. Hey, T. Kelly. If you do that and do one more thing, which is, you know, you've got to have your physical in check. You've got to do something that you can do alone. And if you're doing all those things and you're putting all those things together, you get better. And I'm looking at my notes here. One of the things that I would teach men in the road to self-improvement, there are certain things they have to stop doing with women. One of them is you have to stop complaining to women under all circumstances. You can complain to men about women in the locker room or in places that are all men spaces. You can never cry in front of women because that's something you do in front of men. And on a side note, if the men watching this haven't developed a group of men who are stalwart, if they are not this group of guys that all have their shit together, that you feel comfortable opening yourself up to, you need to find new friends. The guys I know, the guys I train with in the gym, lift weights with, strangle each other in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we've seen each other cry all the time. Reason being, women tend to, rightfully so, judge men on their, hey, reigning woman, women judge men based on the worst point at which they've seen them, because they have to judge how you're going to react when times get hard. Maybe hundreds of years ago, it was when the invading army came in. Now it might be when the economic crisis hits. It might be when she was 9.5 months pregnant with her feet in the air. But she needs to judge everything on how you behave at your worst and weakest. And that's not a bad thing. Are you going to lose your temper with her? Are you going to hit her? Are you going to be someone she can't trust? And when I say trust, I don't just mean trust in the simple ways in life, like trust that she'll take care of things and that you'll take care of things for her. Women have to trust men to make decisions, period. She has to know that when a decision has to be made, you can simply make a decision. She has to trust you with money, not necessarily even hers, but that you're not going to do something with hers and yours. A woman has to trust you to have a side bitch. If you don't show your main woman the correct deference, respect, and have your shit together with her, and for all those guys out there that think that they've got something clever hidden, no, you don't. No, you don't. Now, you might be someone that she looks at and says, it's not worth discussing with him. Or you might be a man that has a clear and open relationship that allows her to talk to you about it. But at the end of the day, the relationship destroyers start to happen when you were not one of those men before. When you were, and I'm consulting my notes openly. I took notes because I don't want to go off the path on this. But what I've seen lead to a spiral of disaster, what I've seen lead to a spiral of bad things happening, are when a man who wasn't one of those men before becomes one of those men now. Nobody wants you to change. I don't care who's reading this. People are very comfortable with you if you are less than. The biggest change I've seen happen, guys that were fat, who are now just in kind of good shape. And it gets worse from there if they start to really develop the arms and the stomach. All the fat guys I know are some of the best guys to be around because they develop humor. They understand how to listen. They understand how to talk because they're making up for the fact that they aren't on the top 10% of most attractive to women. So they make up for it with other things. But do you know what happens when you get a fat man who knows how to tell jokes and make people smile and then gets in shape? I've seen wives leave their husbands overnight because now all of a sudden, other women appreciate him differently. Now when he talks to people, they listen differently and stop the show. When you're a man who's in shape, other men shake your hand differently. Women treat you differently. Your mother, your wife, your sister, your daughter argue with you less because you're clearly a man who takes himself seriously. Clearly you can do things on your own if necessary because you're reading books and because you're crafting things with your hand and your mind. And I just had another one bite the dust. Oh, thank you so much for Reigning Woman. Always hold on. She always reminds people to hit the like button. Like I tell people, I don't have any kind of agreement or sponsorship with YouTube or Google or any of that. What I do is I'm an editor. I'm a writer. As a matter of fact, I just had a couple of my clients. Interestingly enough, I sent out the word and I said, hey, I don't know if anybody has posted on my LinkedIn profile. If you haven't, I need you to go in and leave me a good review. And I'm going to show you guys something that a few people have done. And if anybody here needs any of the services I offer, please give me a call. My big one right now, I've been doing a lot of resume writing for people. If I can help you, I can. If not, pass my information on to someone else. I really appreciate that. So here's my plug for myself. I'll show you guys for those who haven't seen it. 458 connections, but what I'm proud of follows down here. It's not the resume, it's not the great companies I've done work with, it's not the education, it's not the licensing. It falls all the way down here, the recommendation. 16 recommendations, I've given 21. I have some very strong references, people who know the quality of my work. So if you're ever in the market for someone who does any of the things that I do, or even if you're not, link with me on Facebook. You can link with me on Facebook, or you can link with me on LinkedIn, and I'll leave that there and say I appreciate everything. Hold on, let's see. We got a quick Usher got you something. Where's your lovely face today? She's grabbing the popcorn. But to go back to the dour subject at hand, I don't know many women who can deal with the man they're with getting better. If he suddenly went from a man who was okay with just leading an average life, and then maybe he read one of the books. There are about 6 books that my mentors gave me when I was a young wolf on the mountain, a young businessman, that have helped me personally and professionally, that I find on the shelf of almost all the successful men I know. We talk about 48 Laws of Power. That's about one of the core 6 books, and I'm going to have to do those separately and talk about them. But when you start reading those books and people respond differently to you, when you learn how to listen, actively listen, when you learn how to be better at your job, I don't care if your job is scrubbing toilets and dishes, or a financial professional like I was, or an editor writer the way I am now, when you really refine who you are at that job and people notice it, it results in a different level of respect. When you start exercising, and I'm not telling you have to go out there and do boxing and jujitsu or become some yoga fanatic, but when you exercise every other day, doing something, you want to walk on a treadmill for an hour? Fine, walk on a treadmill. You want to come to hang out with me and do kettlebells? Fine, hang out with me and do kettlebells. But 3-4 months later, when you look different, and most importantly, didn't tell anyone that that's what you were doing, you just did the work, my goodness, people have to react to you differently. When they look at you and they say, hey, we're going to go hang out and do something fun, but ultimately unproductive. Like I love video games. I haven't had a video game console in a long time. The treat that I allow myself, because it's a vice, I'll buy a new video game console when Grand Theft Auto or Elder Scrolls come out. I allow myself a month to play the game, then I hand it back and sell to someone else. So when people say, hey, have you played that game? I say, no, I don't have video games in my house. They say, well, why? I know you love video games. Well, yeah, I do. But I would rather spend that time writing or reading or talking to my mom or managing some things, learning a new skill. That's terrifying to people. And it's most terrifying to the people who were close to you beforehand. And that's often the women in your life. I've seen people become disenfranchised and separated from wives, girlfriends, mothers, and aunts because they realize you start to become treated differently. Excuse me, bad English. You've been treated differently before. Now you know what it's like to be a man who's treated better, and they want you to be the person you were before. A difficult conversation that I've had with people that I'm related to. You know who I am? I'll tell you who I am. I'm the fat kid that wet the bed, that got beat up all the time and kept his nose in a book, never had a reputation. I was that kid. You didn't even get any brownie points for beating me up because I was just, I wasn't that guy. But now I'm that guy who has, I tell people all the time, I decided when I was 18 and I went off to college, I wanted to spend my life lifting heavy weights, bedding cute young women, and traveling the world. Are they the most noble of pursuits? No, but I was willing to do the work to get those jobs done. I sank myself into my career. I became financially solvent. I was able to semi-retire early. I lift the heavy weights consistently. I do those things necessary. And so there are people who grew up with me who see me and they'll speak to me in a certain way. And then I just kind of no-sell it and say, all right, well, listen, I hope you have a good one. Hey, who do you think you are? Well, I'm not the man I should have grown up to be. I'm the man I chose to become. Most people won't be able to deal with that. People who are able to shortchange you before, they always want to be able to shortchange you. Why? Because very few people will ever be more than they are right now. Most people haven't really defined who they are and what they're going to be. College, maybe, let's say high school. After that, they're comfortable being in a box, and they're even more comfortable putting you in a box. And that's a difficult thing for people to get their head around. That's a very difficult thing for people to overcome, because if they look at you and say, that's not right, he never should have been able to become different, especially if I could look down on him before. Now, what does that make me? Where does that put you on the totem pole? Because again, and I'm going to have to do an entire article about this. If the fat kid who wet the bed and got picked on can become, by the age of 25, successful on a global scale, and you were the guy that was taller, smarter, more handsome, more charming, still sitting in the same place where we were, now there's some resentment coming in. If you were the man who dated a woman who you allowed to lead to talk to you a certain way, to not respect your time. And then as you go up that mountain and everyone else treating you differently, and you say, hey, I want to take you with me, because men are not that clever. We tend to get stuck on one thing. One of the things that I talk about all the time is men see women the way we see old T-shirts. And I'm going to pull that article up for you, because a lot of people get confused. A lot of people get confused when they realize, well, hold on a minute. What do you mean a good woman is like an old T-shirt? Let me pull that article up for you guys. I'm more than happy to talk with you about that. I wrote an article once, said, good women are like old T-shirts. Well, what does that mean? Well, every man has in his closet, and if you're a woman who's been with a man for a long time, you know that in his closet, he has this T-shirt. It's faded, it's stretched out. You don't even know how old it is. But you know, if you throw it away, hey, that might be a deal breaker. Well, here's the way men view the world and view women. If you were a beautiful, fun woman before, we'll stick with you that way. We'll stick in our mind that that's who you always are. And as we get better, we often want to go farther and take the woman that we had before with us. You know how many guys end up in these situations? Here, check this out. Good women are like old T-shirts. If anybody wants to have a conversation about this article another day, let me know. This is on my website, YusefWateef.com, where I do a lot of writing. I'm actually a writer. I kind of do YouTube because it's fun. I love writing. YouTube is fun, though. YouTube is a lot of fun. When we get to that second or third level, we often want people to come with us. We want to take that woman with us, the woman who helped you carry the groceries uphill both ways to that tiny, shitty apartment you had. The problems become when she sees, and this is about 50% of the time. Now, 50% of the time, I have seen men who say, you know what, I'm here now, and I'm going to leave her and get myself a different woman. That's a personal decision if you do it ethically. But 50% of the time, what we don't talk about is how often I've seen men have the woman in their life turn into a feral animal, desperately trying to cling on to her ability to treat him as if he was not the man who was accomplished, as if he was not the man that he chose to become. And I've seen that over and over and over and over. And it breaks my heart because it just happened again. And I'm directly responsible for it because over the past couple of months, I put this man on the path. I said, here's some books I want you to read. I want you to drink a gallon of water every day. Hey, eat what you want to. How about that? We start drink a gallon of water every day, pick a sport, pick an exercise, do it every other day. He's never going to be a world-class athlete. He's never going to be a Nobel laureate in writing, but he's better than he was 6 months ago. And he can't help but behave that way. It doesn't mean he's a jerk, but he realized, well, wait a minute. If I'm a man who can go in this gym, lift these heavy ass weights till I'm about to cry in the shower afterwards, read books that are more complicated than I can really handle, but I get through them with a dictionary. I'm teaching myself, maybe it's teaching myself how to code, maybe it's teaching myself how to blacksmith, maybe it's teaching myself how to carve animals out of something weird. If I can do all this, I've decided I'm not going to be treated like the chump I might have been before. That's a hard one. And how do we get past that? How do we reconcile that? What'd you say there? By the way, you got to call me one day because I don't even know how to pronounce your name. Precures39? I would, so I got to go read it. Are you talking about, hold on, I think, are you talking about what I'm going to put here in the comments for you? I'll put a link to that article if that's the one you're talking about. I wish I had a happy ending to this. I wish I had a clear, concise way to wrap this up. But I'm sitting here heartbroken. I'm sitting here, for anybody who wants to check it out there, you can find it there. I'm sitting here kind of heartbroken because his heart is broken, because I pronounced it Precious 739, Precious 7. Couldn't you have just written Precious 739? Couldn't 7? No? Okay, never mind. But I'm sitting here heartbroken because he's heartbroken because he's crying, and I'm trying not to cry because he genuinely loved this woman. But he got to a point when he realized the only person who treated him as if he was less than was her. Now combine that with a man's predisposition to fall to his ego. I say this every time you see me. A man only has one enemy, and that is his ego. So when his ego is being damaged on one side by the woman that he really loves, you know. And then you've got these other sharks in the water. These other women that look at him and say, that guy's a little different. I remember when I saw him in the company picnic last year, that didn't look like the man he is now. I see him shaking hands with people differently. The other men who I respected respect him. Maybe I should ask him for some help on this project I'm working on that I work on after work over coffee. And by coffee, I mean Luke Cage style coffee. If anybody hasn't seen Luke Cage on Netflix, you gotta go see Luke Cage. I'm gonna show you the Luke Cage coffee filter. The Luke Cage coffee filter. You'll get it when you watch it, because I'm awful. I'm a terrible human person. I'm a terrible human being for this. But let me show you the Luke Cage coffee filter for anybody who hasn't seen it. Luke Cage coffee filter. That's the Luke Cage coffee filter. So when Luke Cage takes a girl out for coffee, that's what he's talking about. Hey, Jeffrey. And by the way, for everybody, please give this a thumbs up and share this somewhere. You can tag me when you share it. I don't care if it's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tinder. I tell people all the time, put something that I wrote on your Tinder profile and say, if we can't have a conversation at least this deep and impactful, sorry, we just can't screw. Just can't screw. I wish I had more time for you guys today. It's Friday. I know you guys got a lot of things to do. I've got some things I've got to take care of. I hope I gave you some food for thought today. I hope I gave everybody, not just the women and the men, but just everybody something to chew on, something to start a conversation with. If you have any other questions for me or comments, you can all leave them in the comments below. I love you all, and thank you for everybody who showed up. And I hope everybody has a great day, a great weekend, and a great everything else, because my life is going pretty swell right now.